Happy draft week. We are so close. I love the draft. I am pumped. Can't wait for Thursday night. I will be posting a first round recap at the end of the night, so make sure to stay tuned for that. There's been a lot of talk about this being the greatest wide receiver draft class of all time. So I decided to look at all the drafts since 2000, just to keep it simple and more in my memory bank, and rank my top 5 draft classes during that time period. I gotta say, this was difficult. This was not an easy task by any means. There was so much shifting back and forth, and even part of me is like, well, should I move this class up? Should I move this class down? So let me know in the comments below what you think. Number 5, I went a little more in the depths with 2001. This was a top heavy, but a fantastic draft class. You got Reggie Wayne. He's a Hall of Fame finalist, the guy that I think will get a gold jacket one day. You got Chad Johnson, aka Chad Ochocinco, aka the guy that eats McDonald's before every game.
Nothing has changed about my eating habits. They say breakfast of champions, lunch and dinner of champions.
He actually had a fake gold jacket made in one of his preseason games where it said 20, question mark. When is that going to happen? I don't think he's ever going to get in, but people forget how good Chad Johnson was when he was playing. He was a supreme Hall of Fame smack talker for sure, and not quite a Hall of Famer, but if he had done it for a longer period of time, I absolutely think he could have been. Then you got Steve Smith Sr., another guy who should be a Hall of Fame, at least finalist, another smack talker, another just explosive receiver for the Panthers. So you got 3 dominant receivers. Then you got Santana Moss, who had a really nice career. And you had TJ Houshmandzadeh, aka TJ Houshmama.
TJ, how's the vanilla? All right, TJ, who's your mama?
One of the funniest names in fantasy football. He was the runner with Chad Johnson with those Bengals teams. Also, don't forget about Chris Chambers, another good player. Not the best player in the world, but a solid starter. So overall, you get some depth, but you also get that top heaviness with Reggie Wayne, Chad Johnson, and Steve Smith. Number 4 is the 2022 draft class. Now, this class is the one that I see as one that can move up the charts relatively quickly, but they have a big 3 in Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave. Big 3 like J. Cole, Kendrick, and Drake in a sense. Hopefully there's no beef like what we're seeing out there right now. Jameson Williams is a wait and see. I haven't given up on him yet. Jahan Dotson, Treylon Burks, wait and see. Christian Watson, I like Christian Watson. I think he's going to take a step up this season. George Pickens has done some really good things, and Romeo Doubs has done some really good things. The reason why they're on this list at number 4 is because of that big 3. I could see them just driving at a level that is we haven't seen for a big 3. But at the end of the day, these other guys are still wait and sees. Young draft class, one that could do a lot more than what they're doing. This could be the year that we see huge steps forward for these 3 guys. So what you're going to notice about this list is it's really recent. A lot of recency bias. And part of that is because wide receiver classes have just gotten better. I think every season the last few years, if you look at 2020, 2021, 2022, all of a sudden, it's like 3 of the best draft classes of all time. And that's why they're getting into this ranking right now. College offenses are more built for the NFL. These players are coming in more ready than ever, and I think we're more far away from that Laquan Treadwell, that Kevin White era than ever before. If you get a first round wide receiver, unless they get in some off the field issue, almost always, not always, but almost always, they're gonna ball out. And we are seeing that across the board. Wide receiver has had a much higher hit rate than pretty much any position the last 5 years. So number 3, 2020, we have CeeDee Lamb, we got Justin Jefferson, we got Brandon Ayuk. Now there is a big miss here, and I think it's pretty obvious. It's Jalen Reagor, the guy that the Minnesota Vikings were literally laughing at the Eagles when they drafted him.
Jalen Reagor, wide receiver TCU to the Eagles.
Let's go get him.
Yeah.
Hey, Pat.
I'm on it.
Nice. Get Justin Jefferson on the clock right now.
So I think it's not 100%, but Jefferson's number 1 receiver in the league. CeeDee Lamb, maybe second best receiver in the league. Brandon Ayuk, top 10 for sure. And then you look at the depth in this class. You got T. Higgins. He's been a beast so far. Michael Pittman Jr., also a beast. And these are guys that can still take a leap forward. Yeah, Chase Claypool has had a up and down career to say the least, but he has had some really nice moments. And then you have Gabe Davis, who has also had a very much up and down career, but he's got an opportunity to prove himself this season and maybe show some consistency. But that's the bottom end of this wide receiver class. You lead with the CeeDee Lamb and the Justin Jefferson, and that's the excitement. And then you bring in Ayuk. But 2020 also had some big misses. You had the Henry Ruggs with his off-field obvious issues. Jerry Jeudy has not been nearly as good as people thought he was going to be. And then you got the Jalen Reagor fiasco that I just mentioned earlier. Number 2, 2020 was great, but now let's get into 2021. One of the best draft classes. This draft is great because the top 3 are all stars. You got Jamar Chase, you got Jalen Waddle, and you got Devontae Smith, all monsters, all fantastic players. But then you get depth later in the draft. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best receivers in the league. He's not drafted till the 4th round. And then you have Nico Collins, a 3rd round pick who hadn't done much until last season, but now I think he might be a true number 1. So you have Chase, Waddle, Devontae Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Nico Collins. Then you bring in a Kadarius Toney, who that's a miss, but the dude won a Super Bowl and had some huge plays in that Super Bowl and that playoff run. I'll give him that. 2021 is just loaded with wide receiver talent, and that's why I have him as the number 2 draft class since 2000. And before I reveal the number 1 draft class, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I greatly appreciate it. I might be biased because I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, but this draft class is elite. They've had a lot of time to show that they're elite. They just get it done. And maybe there's some classes we talked about earlier that'll pass them up. But right now, 2014's draft class was on another level. I'm talking about Mike Evans, Davante Adams, 2 guys who I think will be in the Hall of Fame. Then you have Odell Beckham Jr., a guy that will teeter on the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he gets in because he had such a short spurt of success, but he got that Super Bowl ring. He might get in. And then you follow that up with Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson, Jarvis Landry. And then you have Sammy Watkins, who was kind of a disappointment, but he also had some huge moments for the Chiefs in their first Super Bowl win against the 49ers. He had some success. At the end of the day, you're talking about 2 Hall of Famers, possibly 3, and this list of guys. Brandon Cooks had a great career. Allen Robinson was a true number 1 for a good amount of time before he had some issues. And Jarvis Landry was a baller. He's just like sticky tape. Every time you throw it to him, he would catch it. This draft class to me is just elite right now, based on body of work, based on Mike Evans having a Lombardi, Odell having a Lombardi. This is my number 1 class. All right, that's the top 5 wide receiver draft classes this century. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to watch some of the most memorable draft moments of the last 25 years, check out this video right here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.